Welcome back to Speducation. I am your host, Brandon Reed. And as always, if this is your first time to the channel, a special welcome to you. Well, it's a new week and we have a new lesson. So, without further ado, let's dive right in. Today's lesson, Transfer of Rights. That's right. So today we're going to be talking about the transfer of educational rights from the parent to the student and when that takes place. Now, when does it take place? Well, it takes place when they turn 18. And that's it. Well, that was a good show, short and sweet. No, no, you don't get off that easy. Yes, the transfer does happen when the student turns 18, but there are certain responsibilities and there are certain stipulations that follow that as well. So let's get into that and look at what happens when a student turns 18. When do educational rights transfer from the parent to the student? Well, when a student reaches the age of 18, all of the special education rights that belong to the parent transfer to the 18-year-old student, unless a guardian has been appointed by the court or an educational representative has been appointed. Now, what does that mean when they say a guardian has been appointed by the court? Well, that means that that's specifically for individuals that need that supervision. So, for instance, in any individual that's in life skills programs where they can't feed themselves, they can't clothe themselves. Okay, these are individuals that even though they turn 18, they don't have the mental capacity to actually be able to take care of themselves independently, much less make decisions about their educational career. So in those cases, unless the court decides that the student is competent and can make those decisions, they'll assign somebody to make those decisions for them. So those are some rare occasions, but generally, almost 99% of the time, when a student turns 18, all those rights transfer to them. When should students start taking an active role in the IEP process? Well, by the time the student reaches the age of 16, although in some states as early as the age of 14, the IEP team should also include a transition component to address life after high school in the areas of education, training, and employment, and independent living. Here in the state of Indiana, when a student is 13 and they plan on turning 14 before their next annual case conference, we have to do what's called a transition assessment. And that's where we ask questions about what their career choices might be. What do they consider to be their strengths and weaknesses? What are their interests in regards to possible jobs? Do they plan to go to college after they graduate from high school? And that's a lot to ask a student that's only 13 or just turned 14 because, come on, a lot of 13 and 14-year-olds aren't thinking about college at that time. They're thinking about what they're going to be doing that weekend. But that's why we do transition assessments every year. So around the age of 13 or 14, students start taking a more active role in their IEP process. So by the time they reach the age of 15 or 16, they're actively involved in IEP case conference meetings. Because when they turn 18, we don't want them to be scared or overwhelmed by the amount of paperwork and responsibility that falls on them. Now, keep in mind that when they turn 18, some of those responsibilities also involve confidentiality, such as through FERPA, or the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. FERPA states that parents claiming a student as a dependent on their income may access education records even after the student turns 18. However, that law does not give parents the right to be listed as a contact and does not give them the right to be informed that their 18-year-old child has asked them to be removed as a contact. It does not even give them the right to access the student's records. FERPA only states that a school may share education records with a parent of an 18-year-old student if the parent claims the student as a dependent. So that means that if a student is still 18 and they're still living at home and attending school, even though they have the responsibility for all of their educational rights and their parents no longer do, the parents still have access to those educational files because they're listed as a dependent or they list the student as a dependent. But the school can also decide, well, no, they're 18, so we're not going to share those files with you. But as soon as the student turns 18 and moves out of the house and is no longer a dependent, then the school can't share any information with the parent whatsoever. Here, working at the Excel Center, we have that policy as well. And we always inform the parent that unless the student gives written permission, we can't share any kind of educational information with the student. So, fortunately, I don't have to worry about that. I've got a good long while. Well, actually, no, I only have about 6 years. Wow, where does the time go? Well, here's a word of advice to all you parents out there, depending on how old your kid is. Enjoy the time that you have now because eventually they're not going to be that young. They're going to grow up and probably move out. And hopefully they stay in touch. But these are the years that are very precious. And I enjoy every moment that I have with my son. So, word of advice, cherish these moments because they're not going to come around again. Now, if you liked what you saw, you learned something new, or you're new to the channel, please click that like button. And if you want updates on future videos, feel free to click the subscribe button and ring the bell for updates on future videos. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, or there's a particular topic in special ed that you want me to cover, by all means, drop a line in the comments section and I'd be happy to help. And until next time, class dismissed.